12 simple things that you can start doing right now to become more independent of the system, Michael Snyder reports. The more dependent you are, the less free you are. A couple of weeks ago, I wrote an article about how our system is designed to beat us down and make us weak and dependent, because when we are weak and dependent, we are easy to control. Most of us don't even realize why the majority of the population is so sick, exhausted, depressed, and confused much of the time. Our bodies, our minds, and our spirits are constantly being poisoned by the system, and those that are in control of the system know exactly what they're doing. If you do not choose to break free, you could end up under the oppression of the system for your entire life. Of course, for many people, inertia seems like the easiest option. It's just so easy to keep doing what you've always been doing, and that's especially true once you get older. But what you're going to do once the system that you have become so dependent upon starts to crumble, what are you going to do when it crumbles all around you? Over the past several years, our world has been getting increasingly unstable. Major wars have erupted, the cost of living has become very painful, pestilences have been raging all over the globe, and historic natural disasters have been hitting us one after another. The chaos that we're experiencing now is just going to intensify in the months ahead. So what will most people do when the system that they depend on for their survival is shaken to the core? The following are 12 simple things that you can start doing right now to become more independent of the system. 1. Become less dependent on your job. For most people, having a job essentially means living in a state of just over broke. The truth is that it's incredibly difficult to become financially independent working for someone else. Of course, most Americans would not be able to survive without a job, but you don't want to settle for just surviving. I know that it can be exceedingly difficult to find the energy for a side hustle while you're working a full-time job, but a side hustle can eventually evolve into a full-time income. If you want to live free, it's so important to explore alternate sources of income and different ways to build wealth. And the truth is that any jobs we have now could easily disappear when economic conditions take a turn for the worse. But if you have to put in the effort to build up a side hustle, at least you still have that. 2, get out of debt. The borrower is a servant of the lender. If you want to live free, get out of debt. No matter how far you try to run, your debts are going to continue to hang over you wherever you go. Getting out of debt can be completely and totally liberating. It will give you much more freedom and will make you far less dependent on your job. In fact, many Americans are already moving in this direction. Why not join them? When things start really falling apart and it's difficult for anyone to find a good job, the last thing you will want is a huge amount of debt hanging over your head. Number 3, reduce expenses. For decades, most Americans have been living far beyond their means. In the future, times are going to be really tough, and we're all going to have to learn to tighten our belts. Do you and your family waste money right now? If you can eliminate that, you can live on a smaller income, and you'll have more money to invest in the things that are really going to matter. 4, purchase land. Real estate is a lot more expensive than it once was, but the truth is that you don't want to wait forever to get your hands on a piece of land. When the system completely crumbles, you don't want to be stuck in a heavily populated area with no place to go. You always want to have somewhere that you can bug out to if things hit the fan. In addition, owning real estate is a great way to build wealth. In some of the most desirable areas of the country that are not heavily populated, real estate prices have doubled or even tripled in recent years. 5, learn to grow your own food. Another reason why you want to purchase some land is so that you'll have somewhere to grow your own food if that becomes necessary. 100 years ago, almost everyone knew how to grow their own food, and most people also knew how to raise farm animals. Today, relatively few Americans have those skills. A great way to begin is by starting your own survival garden. If you're not really doing this, why not start this upcoming spring? 6, find a reliable source of clean water. Do you know what they're putting into your water? In many parts of the country, tap water is absolutely teeming with all sorts of nasty stuff. Drinking pure water is an easy change that anyone can make, and it can have a dramatic impact on your health. In addition, water is going to become a very, very valuable resource in the years to come. It will be absolutely key for you and your family to have a dependable source of clean drinking water. If you do not have water, you'll not be able to survive for long. 7. Explore alternative energy sources. Have you noticed that your power bill just keeps going up? In some states, people are being hit with power bills that exceed $1,000 a month. Of course, you may not be able to depend upon the power company at all once things get bad enough. The truth is that there are very good reasons why so many Americans have been trying to go off the grid. Without power, life gets really difficult very quickly. But if you are generating your own power, then you won't have to worry about that. 8. Store supplies. Every time there is a major disaster or emergency, store shelves get empty really fast. If an extended national emergency results in supply chains being disrupted on a long-term basis, you may have to get by on what you really have in your home. So, do you and your family have enough food and supplies to survive for an extended period of time? If you don't know where to start, there are guides that can help get you started. In America today, there are millions of preppers, and the prepping industry has been thriving. But of course, most of the population just assumes that they will always be able to depend upon the system for what they need, and someday those people will be in for a very rude awakening. 9. Protect your assets with gold and silver. Our leaders have been flooding the system with money for many years, and so it was only a matter of time before we experienced rampant inflation. The cost of living has been absolutely soaring, and that is not going to change anytime soon. One way to protect yourself is by getting some gold and silver. In the future, your paper money may not buy much for you at all, but if you have some gold and silver coins, you can always exchange them for the things that you're going to need. 10. Learn self-defense. Do you remember the riots that happened all over the country just a few years ago? Well, the truth is that what we'll see in the future will be far worse than that. When people get desperate enough, they will literally do just about anything to survive. So just think about it. What do you think is going to happen once people living in densely populated areas have been without food for 2 or 3 days? And now is the time to think about how you will defend your home and your property from crazed looters. It's not a fun thing to think about, but unfortunately we are heading into times that will not always be pretty. 11. Keep yourself in good physical condition. As Americans, we live such cushy lives, but when times get hard, things will not be so cushy. In fact, the years ahead are likely to demand quite a bit of physical activity, so keep yourself in good physical condition now. In the future, you'll be quite glad you did. 12. Make deep connections. It's really, really hard to survive all by yourself. Those that will thrive the most in the future will be those that have a community that they can depend on. The truth is that we are always at our best when we work together. It's time to build deep connections with family and friends, and it's time to make new connections, and it's time to focus on what is truly important. In the times ahead, the world will be a very cold place, and a little love and teamwork will go a long way. This is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. This is by Michael Snyder, and about the author. Michael Snyder's new book entitled Why is available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books that are available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 70-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he's always freely and happily allowed others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.